So this presentation is about two very different texts for change, and I'm going to be comparing a poem and this ad. So this poem is named Report to Wordsworth by Bowie Cheng. It has quite a bit of methods of persuasions here. As you can see, there's personification, as all of the Greek gods have been personified right here, as they are just an idea. You can see Triton's notes struggle to be free, so that's actually a double personification in one sentence. The notes really can't struggle, so there you go. That's another personification there. Alliteration is also quite evident in this poem. You can see smothered by the smog, the wound widening in the sky, laboring to utter his last cry. Oh, nice rhyme. So towards the end, I think this is quite a strong ending sentence, and so alliteration is quite strong for this one. Yes, that's basically it for the poem. Also, simile lies as helpless as a beached whale. That is quite a very accurate and describing simile, as the oceans are actually helpless against us. So this is the ad, and it is about climate change. It has quite a few methods of persuasion, but I'm going to focus mainly on attraction, safety, and hope. As you can see, they use quite bright colors, and if you were out walking in the middle of nowhere, or let's just say a city, and you saw this on a billboard or somewhere, you would actually look at it, because gray buildings, dark sidewalks, everything, it's not as attracting as this poster, or ad, you could say. As for safety, they have interlocked hands, and there's a tree in a hand, so I believe that's quite safe, as Mother Nature is so loving and all of this. But there's also a bad side to Mother Nature, but we don't need to include that here. And the last one is hope. So you can see that this tree is actually quite bright, and even though there's only one, it still brings hope to a new future, or it seems like that, from our point of view. So here I'm going to be comparing some of the aspects of these two texts for change. So the first aspect is audience, and what I see from these two is that they both of their targets are adults. So for the poem, it's more or less adults who can understand, well, more or less climate change and ocean change, and understand the references to mythology. As for the advertisement, it's more of just basically people who can understand climate change. The second aspect is purpose and message. Well, basically, the poem has more of an oceanic pollution aspect to it, and it's also about raising the awareness and realizing what we've done to the oceans using these gods, and in a way that if we don't stop, they will all die, the oceans and the creatures in the oceans. As for the climate change, the advertisement, it's more to inform people that we can still slow down climate change if we stop soon enough. So one's more of a hope side, and the other is more about us becoming doomed. As for the third aspect, it is emotional response. So the report to Wordsworth, the poem, evokes guilt, and the advertisement evokes hope. So a few aspects of the poem are how ashamed we feel about what we've done to the oceans, and we're kind of hopeless based on the language he's used. Smothered, that's not a really great word. It's not very hopeful, and it's quite inevitable also. As for the advertisement, it's more of a happy, hopeful style here. And some of the words to describe are hopeful, as I said, joyful, and safe. And the last aspect is the persuasive techniques, which I spoke about before. And they both use pathos. The climate change uses logos because, well, Greenpeace is very respected, and so this shows logos. As for the fourth and final aspect of persuasive techniques, the poem actually did not use any ethos nor logos. It was mainly and only pathos. As for the advertisement, it actually included some ethos because credibility from the authors were actually Greenpeace, and that is quite respected. Both of these texts for change have their own pros and cons, and I'm going to speak a little bit about them. So the poem's pros were that it had stronger pathos because it could use those literary devices, and well, these were actually quite very more impacting than the ad could ever do, or that's what I believe. And as for the cons, the poem cannot be as universal because nowadays people are actually less interested in reading and they have lower attention spans. So if you put a poem on a billboard, no one or just very few people will actually be interested in it. Also, it has a much longer consume time than the ad, and this will also affect its advertising. Like if a poem were to be advertised or shown around, passed around, then it would take longer, and it is actually quite difficult to advertise because you just can't put it on a billboard, and so you may have to use social networking. Works quite well actually. And now as for the ad, it is so much more universal. Like, just think about it. You can put an ad on billboards, on the sides of trains, like in Japan. You can put them on the sides of buildings also. Just many places. And it can be seen and consumed very quickly. The only cons is that it's less impacting. Unless the image is super witty and it makes a huge connection in your mind, then it really is more impacting as this ad was. And it also doesn't have as much meaning. In the ad, it just stated, the world is heating, we still have a chance. That really doesn't bring out as much emotion as the poem. Thank you very much, Mr. Hutton, and see you in class.